Hello my friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I have for you today are some movie recommendations. I have a few new releases, and then I grabbed some catalog titles off the shelf, so we have a good mix of things, and hopefully everybody will be able to find something or a few somethings to add to your watch list. And this first one was sent to me by way of Warner Brothers, so I want to thank Warner Brothers for sending these out and continuing to support the channel by sending me new releases to discuss, watch, review for you guys, and also for supporting physical media by continuing to put these releases out. And this is the Blu-ray and digital copy for Judas and the Black Messiah. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, who just won Best Supporting Actor for his role in this movie, and Lakeith Stanfield. And this also won an Academy Award for Best Song from the artist Her. And this one is the true story of William ONeill, played by Lakeith Stanfield. And he's a young man about 17 years old in the late 60s who was a car thief. He would go into these establishments, he would show fake ID, fake badges, and he would say, you know, I'm going to have to impound your car, and when he was in fact stealing them. So local law enforcement and the FBI get a hold of him, and they say, listen, you have a choice. You can make a deal with us, and you can either do long, hard prison time, or you can make a deal with us and you can help us gather information on the Illinois chapter of the Black Panthers. So he decides to become an informant for the FBI and local government, local law enforcement, and he infiltrates the Black Panthers to get information on Fred Hampton, who is the up-and-coming face, voice, whatever for the Illinois chapter of the Black Panthers. He's a very passionate, charismatic, young man who's an activist, and he is a rising star in the party. And William ONeill infiltrates, and he's getting information. He's going back to law enforcement, and he's kind of giving them what he's finding out, and then he starts to have, this internal conflict. And that's all I want to tell you about the story. If you don't know the story of Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers and this whole thing, just go into it blind. That's what I did, and I had an amazing experience with this movie. And one of the things that's really interesting, there's a few interesting things about this. Number one, they did such a fantastic job of capturing that time period, like the late 60s, early 70s. They really did a good job with that. And the other thing is, there is a documentary, which is a special feature on this, called The Unexpected Betrayal. And it is the real William ONeill, and he's talking, it's a full-length documentary talking to the real William ONeill. And what they did is, during the film, they splice in little bits and pieces from that documentary, so you hear from the real guy during the movie. But if you watch that full documentary after you see the movie, you're going to see this movie with completely different eyes. So it really makes for interesting viewings going forward, and gives it high rewatchability. But really good stuff, and this feels so socially relevant. This is a story that, considering the social climate that we're in right now, everything that's going on, this is something that I feel like could jump off any headline any day right now. So if you haven't seen this, if it's at all sounds interesting to you, I highly, highly recommend this one. It's a good one, really well done, great performances, and it's definitely a story that everybody should hear. So Judas and the Black Messiah gets high marks from me. And again, thank you to Warner Brothers for sending that over. And this next one, just came out this week. It stars Jodie Foster, Tahar Rahim, Shailene Woodley, and Benedict Cumberbatch in The Mauritanian. And this is also based on a true story, and it is from the memoir of, let me pronounce this, Mohamedou Slahi. Mohamedou Slahi, yeah, I said that right. He was a man who was being held in Guantanamo Bay on the heels of 9/11, when the United States government was rounding up as many people as possible who they thought had any terrorist connections, any ties, any information that they could get about the 9/11 attacks and terrorist groups that were involved. And what ended up happening is, this man was being held in Guantanamo Bay for years without charges. He didn't know why he was there. He didn't even know where he was. And Jodie Foster plays a defense attorney, a real woman. Her name is Nancy Holland, and she is a real-life defense attorney. And she takes cases like this, and she decides to take his case. And she doesn't really care so much if he's guilty or innocent, but more, why is he being held without any charges, and is it okay, and is it legal for us to be doing this? And what she finds out in her investigation, trying to figure out his case, is some pretty shocking stuff. And how she finds out is because he is afraid to talk to her when she goes to visit him. So she says to him, put it in writing and send me letters. And he sends her letters after letters after letters. And after she reads them and she gets a hold of the real documents, what she uncovers is absolutely horrific. And if you have any interest at all in Guantanamo Bay, the situation in Guantanamo Bay, what goes on, what's approved, what's not approved, this is a movie for you to watch. And like I said, those letters, this Nancy Holland convinces him to release these letters as a memoir, and that's what this movie comes from, those letters, his actual letters to his attorney. And it is a heartbreaking, sad, horrifying movie. And like I said, if you have any interest in Guantanamo Bay and what goes on down there and the story of it, definitely give this one a look. That's who the target audience is. If you're not really interested in Guantanamo Bay and the situation there, or why it's there, or what they do and don't do, you're probably not going to get much out of that. But if it interests you at all and you're into history and things like that, definitely give that one a look. And this next one is new to 4K. This just came out, I want to say 2 weeks ago on 4K. It did have a Blu-ray release previously, but that is Tim Burton's Big Fish. And it says right on the front, Big Fish is Tim Burton's masterpiece. And I have to agree, this is just, it's a fantastic film. And whether you're a Tim Burton fan or not, I am, but even if you're not, you're going to love this movie. It stars Ewan McGregor, Albert Finney, Billy Crudup, and Jessica Lange. Big Fish. And this is the story of, really, what it boils down to is the story between the relationship between a father and a son. We have Albert Finney plays a father who his whole life has been telling these wild stories to family and friends, and the son, played by Billy Crudup, he feels like he's heard it all before. He doesn't believe any of it. He's tired of his father always being the center of attention, and he just feels like his father's just constantly putting on a show for everybody. So when the father gets very sick and he's at the end of his life, he decides to go and visit his father, and he says, "Dad, I just want to know who you are before you're not here anymore. I want to know the truth." And his father tells him, "I've never lied to anyone. I've never told a lie in my life. Everything I told you is true." And what they do is, through a series of flashbacks, we revisit his life and we learn the stories of his life. And the son and the father, the son gets to know his father. And it is just a beautiful film. It is beautiful storytelling. And I don't want to tell you too much because it is something that you just have to experience on your own. But like I said, whether you're a fan of Tim Burton's work or not, this is totally different. You're going to love it. It's just, you can't not feel it right here. As for the 4K, people have asked, I know what you're thinking, is it worth the 4K upgrade? I think if you have the Blu-ray, I didn't have a problem with the Blu-ray. I ended up loaning mine out and of course never got it back. So I said, just keep it and I'm going to upgrade to the 4K. If you have the Blu-ray and you want to hold off and wait for maybe a price drop or a sale, that's fine. I think where you're going to see a little bump here is with the color. The colors are really vibrant because there's some real colorful scenes in this. So that looks good. And then the grain structure is good. It's nice and smoothed out and it's more evenly distributed, I think. Also, this comes with an Atmos track. Did it really need an Atmos track? I don't think it really needed it, but, you know, I'm never going to say no to an Atmos track. But this is a very dialogue-heavy film. It's dialogue-driven. There's not a lot of surround sound, so I don't know that it makes the most of an Atmos track. But like I said, who's going to say no to an Atmos track? So, if you don't own it on Blu-ray right now, it's going to be a big upgrade for you. Or if you want a future-proof and you just want to go with the 4K Blu-ray combo, I say it's definitely a go. But whether you like Tim Burton or not, like I said, give this a chance because you will not be disappointed. So that's a big 2 thumbs up for Big Fish. And this next one is, this is another one, we just talked about Another Round. This is another film by Thomas Vinterberg and it stars Mads Mikkelsen and it is called The Hunt. It is also another subtitled film. It is in Danish with English subtitles. And this is a film about mob mentality. Mads Mikkelsen plays a single dad he's kind of working. He lives in this small little town. And there is an accusation made about him. And I don't want to get into the particulars of it because it'll ruin the movie. And what happens is he has to kind of prove that, hey, you know, there's no substance to this. And what happens is word kind of gets out and everybody in his life turns against him. And this is a story about how easily and how quickly mob mentality can take over and what it can do to a person's life. This is an amazing movie. This is so good. This blew me away. I liked Another Round. I thought that was fantastic. This trumps that. This was amazing. If you haven't seen The Hunt, I highly, highly recommend it. I recommend both of them, but this one blew me away. So definitely, if you want to see a movie, a really moving movie, really tough movie about mob mentality and the dangers of mob mentality, and considering we're living in cancel culture and everything's being canceled every other day, you can see how mob mentality can take over any situation. And this one is a very, very moving account of that. So definitely put The Hunt on your list. Okay, so this next one, I am admittedly not the biggest fan of modern comedies. I've made it no secret here on the channel that I'm a tough nut to crack when it comes to comedies. A lot of times I find them kind of hokey and, you know, predictable and just like it's all been done before. But this one, this is such a great, highly inappropriate, highly offensive. So if that's not your thing, fast forward like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and we'll be on to something different. But if you have a little bit of a thick skin and you like really raunchy, out of control humor, Death at a Funeral. Can't recommend it enough. It is so much fun. This had me laughing, and it always has me laughing from beginning to end. And what it is we have a family who they're gathering to pay their respects for a father who has passed, and basically this is the viewing that is taking place in one of their homes, and everything that can go wrong does go wrong. And what it says is, as the mourners and guests at a British country manor struggle to keep a stiff upper lip at a dignified ceremony, it devolves into a hilarious, no-holds-barred debacle of misplaced cadavers, indecent exposure, and shocking family secrets. And one familiar face in here is Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones, and he is absolutely fantastic, and you will die laughing when you see who he is and what he is in this film, but fantastic. And this is just so much fun from beginning to end, and it's just dysfunction at its finest. So if you want a good laugh and you need to lighten things up, check out Death at a Funeral. You will not regret it. And this next one, this is one that I had talked about like in the beginning of the channel. I want to say like the first 2 months I had the channel, maybe the first 3 months I had the channel, but the 50 people that were watching heard me talk about this, but I figured I'd bring it up again because it's such a good one. It's called A Taxi Driver. And look at this cover. This is probably one of the worst covers in the history of covers. And it just, when I saw this cover a few years ago, I was like, that looks so weird. It just looks like, it's such a bad cover choice for a fantastic movie. This movie blew me away. Also based on true events. It's in Korean with English subtitles. And what we have is we have this cab driver who, he picks up a journalist. He has an opportunity. He's a single father, and he has an opportunity to make this outrageously high fare if he drives this guy, this journalist, down to South Korea. And he says, yeah, fine. He's got his daughter. He's alone with his daughter, and he needs the money, so he takes this guy down. And what he doesn't know is when they get there, all hell is breaking loose. There's all kinds of things going on. There's protests, there's governments attacking students, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing because it is absolutely shocking when you see it. And what they realize is that they have to get out of there. First they have to get in to get the story, then they have to get out to tell the story and share the story with the world. And they hook up, the taxi driver and the journalist hook up with some locals who try to help them get in and then get out. And he is traumatized when he realizes what he's gotten himself into. And all he keeps thinking about is his daughter who's home alone, his young daughter who's left behind and is home alone. And this is the story of him trying to help the journalist get the story out and share the story, and the subsequent friendship that is formed and the bond that is formed between them. And this is amazing. If you haven't seen A Taxi Driver, definitely check it out. I think it might be streaming on Netflix. I think it might be available on Netflix. I know people have streamed it, but I'm not sure where. I want to say Netflix, could be Hulu. But definitely look up A Taxi Driver. Not the one with Robert De Niro, but really, really good stuff. This is the Korean film, but really, really good. So definitely check out A Taxi Driver. And this last one, this is a DVD that I picked up. It's from Warner Archives, but it is a made-on-demand DVD. They don't have a Blu-ray release, and I wanted to show this movie to someone, so I picked it up, and I'm really glad I added it to the collection. It is called Nuts, and it stars Barbra Streisand and Richard Dreyfuss, also based on a true story. And this is the story of Claudia Draper, who is on trial for, I believe, manslaughter. She is a high-end prostitute, and she is charged with manslaughter after she kills one of her dates. And her family is very well off, and her family is trying to say, you know, she's sick, she can't defend herself, and she's incompetent, she can't stand trial, because they don't want her to go to prison. Richard Dreyfuss is a public defender who reluctantly is stuck taking her case, and he can't stand her. She's annoying, she's obnoxious, she's difficult. And he reluctantly is forced to defend her. And what he's trying to say is that she is able to stand trial. She is sane. She's not insane. And this is her story. And like I said, it's a true story. And these are real characters. You know, obviously it's Richard Dreyfuss and Barbra Streisand, but the characters they're playing are real. And it's the competency hearing of Claudia Draper. And we find out all about her, and it's a very moving film. It's a very poignant film. It's very tough. It's hard-hitting, and great performances and great on-screen chemistry between Richard Dreyfuss and Barbra Streisand. So if you're interested in this, really, really good one, and you can pick it up really for cheap on Amazon, because obviously the Warner Archive store is now on Amazon. So yeah, check it out. And the DVD quality was good. It looked good and it sounded good. There were no problems with it at all. But yeah, check it out. So that is my last recommendation, and this is just a short and sweet one today. Hopefully you guys were able to find something or a few somethings that you want to add to your watch list and you enjoyed this. I want to thank you as always for watching, and I'm going to be back with some Criterion stuff, because if you didn't see my community post, Criterions are 30% off for the month of May. So even if you don't pick up anything now, we're going to start to get ready for the July sale. So I want to do a Criterion recommendation video very soon. I also have some new 4Ks. I just got in My Fair Lady, and I have some other new 4Ks to review for you guys in the very near future. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments, suggestions, recommendations, subscribe, hit the bell. You know the drill. You know what to do. You've been around YouTube long enough. So again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. For today, that's a wrap.